On a remote island off the coast of Maine, there stands an old abandoned lighthouse known as the Whispering Tower. For years, the locals had avoided the lighthouse, believing it to be haunted by the ghost of the last keeper, who had died under mysterious circumstances. But one day, a young woman named Amelia decides to investigate the rumors, and soon she finds herself caught in a web of deceit, betrayal, and murder. Hello, I'm here to tell you about Echoes of the Lighthouse Keeper, a mystery thriller podcast available wherever you get your podcasts. The year is 1962, and Amelia lives with her father, a famous author, in a secluded mansion in Maine. Her mother died when she was young, and her father has since become reclusive, spending his days writing and drinking, and his nights wandering the house with a pistol, claiming that he hears the echo of her voice. One day, Amelia stumbles across a newspaper, an article about an old lighthouse on a nearby island that was abandoned after its keeper disappeared without a trace. Intrigued, she convinces her father to take a trip to the island to investigate what happened to the keeper. But as they approach the island, a thick fog rolls in and they hear the sound of a foghorn echoing across the water. Despite the warnings of the locals, they land on the island and begin searching for the lighthouse. As they walk along the rocky coast, they find the remains of a small boat, suggesting that the keeper may have been trying to escape the island when he disappeared. They finally reach the lighthouse and find it overgrown with weeds and vines, but still standing strong against the crashing waves. As they climb the stairs to the top of the lighthouse, they can see the beams sweeping across the darkness, guiding ships safely away from the treacherous rocks. But suddenly, a loud crash echoes through the tower, and the beam goes out, plunging them into total darkness. Amelia and her father are shaken, but continue their search, finding an old journal that belonged to the former keeper. In the journal, Amelia learns that the keeper had been experiencing strange and terrifying phenomena, including the sound of footsteps behind him when he was alone, the feeling of being watched, and even the apparition of a woman in a Victorian nightgown. As Amelia reads the journal, she begins to feel a sense of dread and fear, knowing that she is not alone in the lighthouse. Suddenly, she hears a voice whispering her name, and she feels a cold breath on her neck. She turns around, but there is no one there. Then she sees a shadow moving in the corner of her eye, and she runs to find her father, only to find that he is gone. She searches the lighthouse for him, calling his name, but there is no answer. She looks out the window and sees the boat floating in the distance, but there is no sign of her father anywhere. She is trapped on the island with no one but the ghost of the lighthouse keeper. Desperate to find her father, Amelia flees the lighthouse and runs to the mainland, where she contacts the police and tells them about the ghost and her missing father. However, the police do not believe her story and assume that her father has simply run away from home. Determined to find her father, Amelia enlists the help of a private investigator named Jack to search the island for clues. Together, they comb through the undergrowth and rocks, looking for any sign of Amelia's father. And eventually, they find a small, barely discernible trail leading away from the lighthouse. Following the trail, they come across a small cave hidden among the rocks. Inside the cave, they find a pistol, a bloody meat cleaver, and a secret passage leading underground. The passage leads to an underground tunnel that runs beneath the island. Jack and Amelia crawl through the dark and narrow tunnel, their bodies scraped and bruised by the rough walls. Finally, the tunnel opens up into a large cavern, and they can hear the sound of rushing water. They follow the sound and find a small opening leading out to a secret beach on the other side of the island. As they step out onto the beach, they see the remains of a campfire and a small tent hidden behind some rocks. They cautiously approach the tent, and Jack finds a second journal, this one belonging to Jack. He reads about the keeper's obsession with the island, and his growing paranoia that he is being followed and watched. He also learns that the keeper had discovered a secret passageway on the island that led to a hidden cove on the other side, where he could escape if he ever felt threatened. The keeper believed that the island was cursed, and he began to hear the echo of a woman's voice calling out to him in the wind. He became so obsessed with finding the source of the voice that he neglected his duties and eventually lost his job as a keeper. Driven mad by the isolation and the whispers, the keeper took his own life in the cave using a meat cleaver. They then find the body of the keeper, confirming that he had taken his own life. And they also find the body of Amelia's father, who had been killed with the same meat cleaver. It is clear that someone has been living on the island and killing people who come too close. With the help of the local sheriff, Jack and Amelia are able to track down the killer, who turns out to be a hermit who had been living on the island for years. The hermit had been watching the lighthouse and had killed anyone who came too close, believing that they were there to harm him or steal his treasure. He had taken over the identity of the dead keeper and had been living in the lighthouse, keeping it operational so that he could continue to warn ships away from the island. The hermit is arrested and taken off the island, and Jack and Amelia are left to clean up the mess. As they stand at the edge of the cliff, watching the sun rise over the ocean, they know that the curse of the lighthouse has finally been broken, and that is the end of Echoes of the Lighthouse Keeper. What did you think of the story? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. Thanks for watching.